show. Again, like I said, we have Blessimg Allen-Adebayo with us. Fortunately, unfortunately, Blessing is not in the studio, but thankfully we have technology. So Blessing will be joining us online. Hi, Blessing. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Bukul. How are you? Thank you for inviting me here.
I'm very well. Thank you for honoring the invitation. It's good to have you here.
Good to have
I'm really excited about hearing your story and your journey. Is the line clear? Just to be sure.
Yes, Bukul, I can hear you loud and clear. And I'm very happy to be here today.
Great, because thanks to technology, we can do this. Yes. So we like to start with icebreakers, Blessing, and I wanted to break a bit of the ice. I know it's been quite stressful trying to set up, going back and forth, so we can just start on a good note. So I have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. Are you up for that?
Well, it's you, Bukul, so it's always fun talking to you, always interesting, and I think I'm ready.
Okay. So these are like riddles. So funny thing is, since we are having to use the power of faith and belief, so my first question is, what can't talk but will reply when spoken to?
Oh, Bukul, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. It can talk, but it replies when spoken to.
When spoken to.
First.
It's very easy. In the room you are in, when you speak.
Well, maybe a microphone or a speaker. Yeah, speaker or a
speaker also works, but
yeah,
the answer is echo. But speaker is just a good response. So thank you for playing. So other question is, this is not a riddle, so it's more of a getting to know you better.
It has to be simple. It has to be simple, Ibuko. Simple questions first.
No, it's not a riddle. It's not a riddle. It's like, what's the best gift you've ever received?
Physical gifts, yeah, or physical gifts. So I
think physical. Let's do physical.
So there was this Bible that I really wanted, and my husband ordered it. I had tried to order it several times and I couldn't get it. So my husband ordered it for me and I was very excited about it. So I guess I love gifts around books, something to read, something that helps and enhances my knowledge. So yes, one of the best gifts is a book a Bible I got by my husband.
Nice. Good to hear. And it's great to have you again. So we just kick off. Just a basic introduction. Blessing is a global advisor, market systems development at People in Need. Right?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Yes. Well, I feel like you go from pin to pin to pin to pin. Like those are just presentations. You're just working. If you're not working in pin, you're working in pin. So that's about people in need. What did you say?
So there was even a prop-com in between. So pin to prop-com and then pin. Yes, I started my career in international development and partnership initiatives in the Niger Delta about 8-9 years ago. And that was when I started implementing programs using the market system development approach to address issues that affect the economy and creates crisis and conflict in the Niger Delta. So over a period of 7 years, I worked in PIND as a market systems advisor. And following that, at the heart of 2020, most of the international development work in Nigeria was happening in the Northeast. The markets were lean, systems were not functioning properly, especially in the agricultural sector. So I had to move to a program funded by FCDO, PropCom, and there I moved to work in the Northeast, and where I stewarded the organization's drive to use digital technology to promote access for rural-based farmers. And then from there, PropCom, I began to get into the space where I knew it was time to go for a more regional position. I felt like I had acquired a lot of knowledge, and it was time to help programs from other regions. And I started applying for regional and global positions. And that's how I got the opportunity.
Wait, before you get into the regional and global,
Yeah.
I'm quite interested in knowing what your background was, because you don't see social development courses being taught in school, and like it's like that is your forte. That is what you've grown into. Like, what was your background, and how did you come into this space?
So I think when people say that is your forte, social development is your forte, and it's different for me. I think that everything that has to do with solving problem in innovative ways is my forte. I studied marine biology, and there's a story around that. Before I studied marine biology, I think I wanted to study something in the science medical line, and things didn't work out. But when I got into marine biology, I enjoyed it and I loved it. I didn't want to leave it. I realized that there were lots of issues with our coastal regions, and we needed to be able to address solving the problems of pollution while ensuring that we're able to generate the right resources from our coastal landscape. So eventually I decided to focus on addressing the issues of marine pollution. One, because I'm from the Niger Delta, and many of the people from the Niger Delta are facing the conflict, the effects of pollution in the Niger Delta, pollution and conflict. So one part of my career, which is my academic career, focused on studying about pollution and resolving the issues around pollution. So my first degree is in marine biology. My master's...
Is that like your project or something?
Master's is in marine pollution management. And I'm currently studying for a PhD. The topic is around...
Wait, Taylor. Please just pause. Please just pause. You're just mentioning a lot of big words, big names, and I'm like, you from some of these words I don't even come across on a normal day. Bio, submarine, that. As in, it's very... I'm telling you, for the layman, it's like, what is she saying? Like, break it down to us. I will work it biodegradable. Okay, thank you.
So, I might even be tempted to break it down further. So basically, when a body of water is polluted, the first thing that happens is that the microorganism, there's a natural method where certain organisms start the process of cleaning up the pollution by itself. So these organisms, if the pollution is not too much, if it's just pollution, the same thing happens in your body. If you get an infection, the first thing is that your antibodies, get into action and try to protect you, try to fight it. The same thing happens also in the water body. The microbes there do, but however, if the pollution is too significant for this microbe, unable to so there are opportunities to fortify these microbes to work faster and clean up the environment slowly over time, but more efficiently. In a way, organisms can still thrive and we still maintain the resources in the water body, or recover those resources after they have lost them. So one of the things I experienced was water bodies were cleaned. Fishermen in the Niger Delta lost their livelihood because they were cleaned with in a way that did not restore the environment. So I'm studying to clean up in a way that maintains the ecosystem and restores the environment. Yes. So that's what bioremediation is.
So like my question to you, and I love what you mentioned, sounds very noble. Social development is a space that you have to have a heart for, and I'm sure you do have a heart for it. But my question to you is, how did you actually get a heart for these things? You grew up, you're from Niger Delta, but you don't necessarily live there. So what was the story behind you deciding, I want to be able to cause this change. I want to be able to make sure that fishermen can fish and have the means of livelihood for themselves and preserve the water resources in those regions. Why did you pick up that cause?
So I heard something a long time ago, and it's a sentence. It said that sometimes the most important things in our life drop on our lap, like God threw something out the window by mistake, So I don't think there was any intentional move or plan to converge where I am. In fact, for several years in my life, I was conflicted about the reason for studying marine biology and then finding myself passionate about economic development and communities and agriculture. So it took me several years to navigate the place where I saw the nexus between all of my passions, where I know that I'm concerned about the environment, the people, and the economy together. So I was pursuing, my academic pursuit was following the paths around restoring the environment and just studying and understanding the issues around pollution, conflict, economics. It's all related and interrelated in the Niger Delta. Meanwhile, my work was around the social aspects of inclusion, getting funding and resources to ensure that businesses are thriving within the Niger Delta. So it all happened by mistake, to be sure. And I would like to say by divine coincidence, because many of the things that have now fallen together were not thought. I didn't think them through. I didn't plan or orchestrate them. I never imagined that I would be doing many of the things that I am now doing. 10 years ago, I'll be shocked at the person here, the person I see in the mirror, but of course, pleasantly shocked. So no, there was no intentionality about choosing this route. However, there was intentionality about doing the best at everything that I choose to do. There was intentionality about consistently growing, putting my best foot forward, passionately pursuing excellence and consistent improvement. And then forgiving myself when I make mistakes. And as always, traveling light.
Okay, I like what you mentioned, but what also catches my attention is you saying 10 years ago there was no intentionality around it. Who was Blessing 10 years ago? What was going through her mind, and was she curious about her purpose, or she was just oblivious to the fact that she needed to even try to be intentional?
So I really need to take you to 10 years ago. Maybe we could go a bit further. But after we finished...
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Just a bit further. So I'll take you from when I finished university. I did wanted to study. So I loved marine biology, and I wanted to do a master's in something relating to marine pollution management. And but I thought I could get some work experience first. I tried to get some work experience. It didn't happen. So I went into a business, basically for survival. I worked with a couple of business owners and then started running my own business for a couple of years. The good thing...
What business was that?
Food delivery to workplaces. So I had a mini food factory in my mother's house where I prepared different kinds of meals, and I had connections, deals, and relationships with several people in different banks. I think my target audience were people who were too busy in the banking sector to order the right kind of food, or couldn't get the right kind of food around them, and they could just order and deliver. So take note that at this time, about 12 years ago, it wasn't really common to have food delivered to you in your workplace.
Yeah.
It was just budding, and that was when I went into it, and it was a good business at the time. And while doing that business, because my main focus was marine biology and marine pollution management, I was doing my master's while running the business. So I did my master's while running that business. And when I saw the opportunity in Foundation for Partnerships Initiative, I thought that the opportunity...
Sorry, can you take that again? When you saw the opportunity in what?
In paint. So I was running my business, but I got to the point where my business shut down. There was a change in policy around bikes. So I think that was one of the first times that bikes were banned in Lagos, and my business did not have the resilience to handle that shock. So we started, because our selling point was our fast delivery, and we make sure that we got the food around the island from mainland island and around, to get the food there in time. So that my business could not handle that shock. I tried to use cars to deliver, but then the traffic, I lost my unique selling points, which was that ability to deliver food in time, good quality food in time, and time was pretty significant. So I had to step back to re-strategize.
Can I pause you on that? And I think I want to talk about the death of a dream. You know, you had a business and it seemed as if, we're trying to pick up, but there's this policy that is coming to, impede our goals, the plans that we have, our best laid plans. What was that for you? Because I think that, sometimes when you start something, you want to give your best to it. And then when it seems as if something is impeding it, you now are left with the choice of, do I try even harder or do I give up? What made you, decide that, okay, it wasn't worth probably going to get investment in one place to kind of cushion it, to decide, okay, let me just give it up and try something else? What was your process for making that decision?
So to be honest, I didn't want to let it go. I fought for it for a bit of time. I thought I could make it work. But I remember the moment that I made the decision to let it go. I was lying in bed with my younger sister. So my sister is, the two of us, my mom has 2 daughters, and we were just lying in bed. And so she said something to me. She just said, Blessing, you have a degree, you have a master's. So she was in maybe her final year, and she needed me to keep making money. And so since my business wasn't making money, she says, Blessing, you have a master's degree, you can get a job. And at that point, the business was not making money for me. It was taking money away from me. And it was demanding that I go find money from somewhere else and inject into it. And one of the closest persons to me, who is, at that time of my life, she was my motivation for driving several things. She said, Blessing, go get a job. And I thought it was important for me to stop at that point. She even told me that when you get a job and you get some money, I would help you run the food business again. She just said, this is not working. And listening to her, so just listening to her voice of reason, because my emotions were involved. I had put in years into the business. My emotions were involved, but because I trust that she has my best interest in heart, and my decisions also influence her life. So my decisions affect certain things that are available for her or are not available for her. So I did have to make decisions with her in mind. So when she advised that I got a job, I thought I should get a job. So that was how that happened. Yeah.
By listening to those around you.
Yes. Who are influenced by my actions and decisions. I am not here for myself, Yes, it's important that I achieve my dreams and my passion, but there are people connected to those. So if it is going to affect them negatively or hurt them, or it's not I could navigate that in a way that I could still have my dreams, but also listen to the voice of reason to make sure that there's room for them in my dreams.
Because I think that the decision you made is not actually one that is really easy to come by, because many times it's always just trying to find the balance in knowing what to do per time, knowing the right decision to take. So some people may say, just give me, I don't know, there's a movie, let me not mention the name.
Yes.
And the guy kept trying, and it seemed as if for many years it wasn't working. And the woman had been there for a while, it was affecting her. She had put all her finances in it. And it just turned out that, when she gave up, that was when the moment of breakthrough came. So it's do you keep, and it's just that confusion, do you keep pushing on that same thing? They will say, when you hit something hard enough, it depends on what you're hitting anyway. If you're hitting a tree hard enough, one of my guests said this, it will come down. How do you define what is a tree and what is a stone? Because sometimes me hitting maybe a hard rock or a stone in the same place. So a tree, maybe you need one last hit for it to go down. Maybe a stone, and it's either we get a bigger stone to break this, or we just have to move on and find something easier to do and maybe come back. And it's always navigating those thoughts to reach a final decision. No. So like for somebody else that is in that space right now, it's like I've tried this dream over. I don't know. I've given everything to it. Do I end it or do I move on? What would you say to that person?
So to be honest, this is a very common saying. You can't continue doing the same thing the same way and expect different results. So I knew that I needed an injection of capital into the business, and I could not find it. I had tried for several months and I couldn't find it. So what I told myself was I was going to get a job, work for some time, save, grow my network, and then grow the investment that I was going to put back into the business. Actually, those were my thoughts at that time. But to be honest, the business that time was about survival. So it wasn't really fun to solve the food delivery problems in Nigeria. It was something I knew I could do, a unique business I knew I could do that could pay some of my bills and grow some income, employ people. And something else, yes, I really wanted at that season of my life was some level of freedom, financial freedom, and the freedom to do other things I loved while making money. So being an entrepreneur, of course, we now know then I wasn't smart enough to know that being an entrepreneur, you worked twice as hard. So I thought that would be the route to my freedom from, the 9 to 5.
From working as
Yes. So that was what I thought it would be my route. But over the years that I had worked, I found that I was even working in my dream. Being an entrepreneur is 12 to 12, 247, physically and mentally. You're actually working for several years until the business gets to that tipping point where it can run by itself. But getting it to that point is a lot of work, and I didn't know if I had the energy and the funds to get the business to that point. And truthfully, I have a lot of belief in the fact that there are lots of things I could do. That's one of the problems of people who know that they are talented. There are lots of things that I could do. So if this wasn't working out for now, I could step back to something else and come back to it. And being pretty young, I was in my 20s at that time. So I could get back to this maybe sometime in my 30s. So there's no rush.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
On this topic, do you think that I don't use the word failure, but let's use the word failure because that how do you define it? Oh, it is actually failure of the business at the time affected you in any way in respect to chasing your dreams? Did it discourage you, or did it give you a new kind of drive?
So I think that I have an internal ability to travel light. I'm not sure where I got it from, but I would easily forget the failures that I have faced in the past. In many areas of my life, when I do face failure, I'm able to forget about it and motivate myself to move on to something else. I'm able to tell myself that this didn't work doesn't mean that I am not working. I could do something else. This didn't work. And I told you that I was able to put my finger on exactly what went wrong, which is there was a policy change around my business model. So now if I was going to design another business with a unique selling point, I would already identify the potential risk around possible policy changes and have a mitigation strategy in place before I even started the business. So those are the things that I learned from it. And I think that I wasn't discouraged from moving forward because I had read a book. I've forgotten the author of the book, Failing Forward. And it's helped me to understand the benefits of failing. You don't learn anything from, you are excited about winning, but you don't really learn much from winning. But every time you fail, you learn you make a list of what you need to learn a lot from what you have failed from, know what you shouldn't do again, what works and what doesn't work, and move on. It's lessons for life that will be important for your next step. And like I said, I travel light. I have the personality that allows me forgive myself and events easily, and I just move on to the next best thing. So no, I wasn't discouraged, because even before that time, I have made a lot of wins in my life. I've had failures, but I've also had wins. So I knew that yes, you could do it sometimes, and then sometimes it wouldn't work. I was ready for that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and I remember my cousin told me something, that one of the first things you teach children is how to say welcome with a hug and goodbye with a wave. So you can welcome people who come to visit you, and when it's time for them to go, you wave at them and say, all right, bye. I'll see you again. So it's very important for people to learn that at an early age. And I think in business, people should start early, fail early, and fail frequently enough to learn the lessons as they get older. So I had started doing different kinds of businesses. I was 15, or even less than that. And so I knew how to win and how to lose and how to move on when things didn't work out.
Oh, amazing. You know, and I like what you said about failing forward. So you failed forward into social development, or did something come before that?
So I didn't even know that that was what I was going to do. I remember that in my interview, I shared with them the business model and what I was doing just before the work. And the people who made the decision to employ me said that one of the reasons they employed me was because of my entrepreneurial skills. So the business failed, but I left that system with very equipped to be an entrepreneur. I already grew an entrepreneurial mindset. I had entrepreneurial skills. I knew how to engage businesses. I knew what made businesses fail. And so in moving forward with my career, I was ready to advise businesses rightly. And I was already equipped with the skills that would help me attain business excellence, in my project design, in my conversation, in my work with other businesses over time. So it was a good opportunity. And maybe if I hadn't failed in that business, I might not have left it to go into.
So like that prepared you for the next phase. But did you apply generally, or you applied specifically?
So I applied. I applied for a trainee position, just to go and learn.
Like I'm saying, did you apply for different jobs, or you just look for the social development space? Okay, let me just own this space.
So I was applying lots of jobs at the time. So that was just one of the jobs I applied for. But before then, I don't know if you know me, Bukun, so you know that I'm deeply spiritual, and a lot of things that happen in my life, they might come as a surprise, but by the time I see them, I recognize that I have seen this before. So at a season in my life, I had dreamed of an organization that's like the one that I went to work with, an organization that's used partnerships to develop economics and conflicts in the Niger Delta. So I didn't know the location, but I had dreamed about it. In fact, I knew, I had an idea of how long I was going to work in that system. So I didn't know when I was applying, but when I went for the interview, the day I went for the interview, I knew that I had dreamed about this. I had seen what they were doing, and I knew that I was supposed to be part of this organization. So when I started working there, I knew I should stay there for a bit longer and grow. So I do have a spiritual sense that allows me to recognize the direction that I should go. And that shows up for me at different seasons of my life. I just know that sometimes I'll just know it's time to stay, it's time to go, it's time to... there's just that compass inside my spirit that is always there, navigating, just navigating the turns and the directions that I should take. And of course, there are times when I have listened and there are times when I have not listened. And over time, I think maturity for me has come in listening and letting go and trusting God's path process and pattern, knowing that I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. I'm going to love the outcome. Yeah. And of course, that's a really difficult thing. The waiting, the not knowing, the losing control. And I'm like, I've had opportunities to test patience, faith, waiting, and following God over the years. And the journey has not always been easy, but it has always been worth it.
I like it when you put it that way. So, presently you live in Abuja, and that's why you're not here. We're shooting from Lagos.
Yeah.
But before then, you lived in Lagos. But funny thing is, your job makes you or takes you to different parts of Nigeria.
Yes.
So you find that you are in Jigawa, Cross River.
I was working in 9 states of the Niger Delta, from Ondo to Cross River. Yes.
Yeah, and I know you call me several times. Oh, I'm in the hotel room. Blah blah blah. You are always traveling.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it something you were prepared for? Knowing especially you going into the job, and I think it's a few years before your marriage or into just about the time you were getting married. Were you prepared for the level of commitment you would have had to make both your marriage work and make the job work?
So there are certain things that don't even come into my mind. There's this software that is in, maybe I think there's a software that tells people that maybe traveling around affects marriage. It was never downloaded into my
software.
I didn't get the memo. I had no clue. I love traveling. The job came with traveling. I was excited. I told my husband I was excited, and I just started traveling. It never crossed my mind that there was any connection between traveling for work and marriage. Because, so I was completely unaware about it. And so I married someone who who also enjoyed seeing me live out my dreams and do what I enjoy. So I was enjoying my work. I didn't think I knew I was going to travel around, and I loved it. And then I knew I was getting married to the love of my life, and I loved it. Everything I loved, workplace. So I wasn't.
Why peak?
I didn't know about the amount of work it would require to navigate distance in marriage, but I instantly started making certain changes to align with what the reality was, like spending time, making sure we were always talking, making room for communication, being very open and clear, trying to visit as often as possible, both ways. So both of us actually did work it out together. So it wasn't just him or just me, but we both knew that we were going to live out our dreams. We weren't going to stop anybody from doing what they loved, and it wasn't going to affect the marriage. Of course, people will talk. Ibuku. People.
What were the 3 things that you had to battle with most in navigating your long distance marriage? What were the 3 major things you had to come to and be intentional about?
So we needed to agree that we would communicate. We would talk every day. We would talk about everything. We'll talk about every unnecessary thing. We'll talk like we were living in the same room. The same way I'd wake up in the morning and maybe talk to my husband or touch my husband on the bed or just say something to him. It's the same thing I would do if I was not with him. So we wake up and call each other. What do you want to eat? What are you eating? What are you doing? We agreed that we were going to talk non-stop. In fact, my husband said once before we got married, he said, no matter what is happening in our life, we must always be talking. Everything can end, but talking cannot end. So that level of openness, vulnerability, transparency, and consistent communication. Even if you are angry, we should be talking. Even if you don't feel like we talk, even if you are busy, send me a message, I am busy. I'm having a bad day, say, I'm having a bad day. I'm sleeping. We are calling, somebody starts snoring. Okay, we sleep, listen to the snore for a couple of minutes. When you wake up, you call back. So we both were ready to do what it would take to keep our friendship and love. So we weren't thinking about the traditional system where man, woman stayed in the house. So we knew that what we have is marriage, and it's not something that you can put in a box. So it was a kind of marriage that we had, and it was for us, and we both enjoy it. So as long as both of us agreed what we have, that was fine. Another thing that we agreed to do was also be financially transparent. Distance, that kind of distance is pretty expensive, and you might not even know what's going on with the money. He was working in Lagos, I was working in Warri and everywhere else. We needed to be very transparent about our finances and what was going on with it. So that way there wouldn't be issues around those. And then thirdly, about sex, we needed to be completely vulnerable and truthful about the way we felt around missing each other and wanting each other. And we made sure that we were there for each other, protected each other, satisfied each other as often as we could. And we were honest and transparent about the challenges of being apart regarding sex, money, and communication.
Wow. But you guys are now together. You guys now live together.
Yes, we do. So we've been living together for
what happened?
2 years.
Well, you guys are now living in the same city more often than
we are sleeping in the same bed.
And
I need to say something. We used to talk more when we were living apart. Now we are seeing each other. We don't need to talk again. Yes, we stay talk, but not as much as we used.
Now your hearts are communicating.
Yes.
Okay, so what happened though to make you? Did you get a new job to make you more stable, have a more stable work life? Did you get a new job? Did you have to make a decision to leave? What was that for you in making this new arrangement possible?
Children. Yeah, just one word, children. So when we it took us a couple of years to have children. But when we now had our children, we had twins, and my husband and I can walk through everything, but I started feeling the concern about the children, not having one parent around. Because of the nature of my travels, we decided to keep them at home in Abuja, because if they were in Warri with me, every time I traveled, they would either travel with me or be with someone else, someone who is not a parent. So we decided that my husband had a more stable system in Abuja, and no matter what, he would most likely come home every evening. So we decided to have them in Abuja. So imagine how it was for me to make that decision from the time they were 4 months old. I remember when I got back to work in Warri, several times I would just go into the bathroom and be weeping. I missed my children so much. I missed my children. I didn't even know where the tears would be coming from. So I guess first is just the natural, the hormones or something. I'll just be crying. I miss my children. And, my workplace tried to navigate me having time to come to Abuja and back. But then as they started growing, I started having that concern and fear that they would not be attached. They would not care about me. They would not be attached to me. They would not love me. Of course, I now realize that was silly, but those were some of the real fears I had. I would come home and my children would prefer to be with my husband, than with me. And I was missing milestones in their life. When they started talking, so I just couldn't take it anymore. I got to the time in my life where I couldn't take it anymore. And there was a time when my emotions were moving me to make a decision about work. And just before I made that decision, I prayed about it. And I heard clearly from God that it wasn't time. And so what I just prayed then was that He should help me hang in there until it was time. Tell me what to do. Help me through the process. Okay. And about a year after that conversation, with my father, he told me it was time. And I knew it was time. My husband and I, in fact, when he told me it was time, I called my husband because I was somewhere else. I called him when I heard from God that it was time. And he said he knows. And he said it will happen in 3 months. So that was what he said, that he already got that sense that it was going to happen in 3 months. And so I think in exactly 3 months from that period was when I got a call for the first interview with Propcom, where I moved to. But it still took another 2 to 3 months before I got the offer and got the role to start working. And that was how it happened. So I had to apply for other jobs. So immediately I knew it was time. That was when I started applying for jobs. So when my husband said it was going to happen in 3 months, so I knew it's time, start the effort. So I started applying for jobs, started talking to people within my network that, I'm looking for opportunities here, opportunities that will allow me live in Abuja. I could work anywhere.
So by this time, you were sold on being in social development, basically.
Oh, yes. I was completely sold on being in economic development, yes. So I was already an international development advisor, and I had 7 years experience implementing economic development programs in the Niger Delta. So my focus was economic development programs in post-conflict communities. So I started searching for opportunities that will allow me to do same in the northern part of Nigeria. And at that time, the main areas were the northeast. So I wanted an organization that had an office in Abuja where I could live in Abuja. But I was, of course, always sold on traveling around, working with people, going to communities, and being part of the change that would happen around rural development, yes.
Wow. So just one more question before I take the final one. Would you say you have the best of both worlds, knowing that you have the family you love and the job and the job or the career that you didn't know you needed but you love now?
So I have a dream family. I have a beautiful family. My support system is out of this world. Yes, I would say so. And I would say I have a husband that supports me. My children love me. My children know what I do. And they understand it. They even tell each other, "Oh, mommy is working. Let's excuse mommy." "Oh, mommy, okay, are you in a meeting? Okay, when will you be done?" So they understand that. So I have that support system. And then I also get to do what I love. Yes, I get to do what I love. I love my work. I still love the fact that I travel around a lot. I don't know how long I could combine this. I don't know how long I could combine this, but I want to do it as long as I can. And I'm open to the change. I'm open to the season where I might not travel as much as I travel now. Okay, so I'm somewhere in my mind, I know that I have the best of both worlds. However, if there are opportunities to change one or two things over time, I'm open to doing it without feeling bad about any part of it.
Wow. So do you think that everybody actually can get that opportunity as well? Or do you think it's just for special people?
So I think everyone can if they want to, but there are certain mindset shifts you need to do for yourself before you move into that place where, as a woman, you could still have the kind of family you want and the kind of career you want. And I also still have friends. I have great friendship. So I have time to play with my friends. I spend time with them, visit. So I still do enjoy myself but something has to shift in your mind first. I remember when I was I traveled for a bit of time, and one of my friends called me. I said, "Oh, where are you?" I said, "Oh, I traveled for work." And she asked me, "Where are your children?" And I told her, I can block you for asking me this question. I can actually block you. So you do not know that I have the ability to make sure that my children are well taken care of, well protected, in the right place. I'm communicating with them and everything is fine with my children. So there are actually several women who think that if you have young children, you can't travel. You can't even travel for a day or 2 days. You can't take certain jobs. Yes, there are jobs you can take, but there's still a lot you can do within what you can do. But you need to understand your reason. Are you really doing it because you want to stay with the children, or you're afraid of challenging yourself and venturing into new opportunities? So you do have to stop yourself and think, why exactly am I holding back? Am I using the children as an excuse? Or there really is a reason why I cannot go. And then I also do acknowledge that some people do not have supportive spouses. So if you so happen to have married one of those men who think that women should, their primary role should be in the home, caring for the children until they're grown, that is fine. That's the situation. Also, some women do make the decision to now spend years with their children until they have grown to a certain extent. That's very honorable. In fact, they should be paid. They should be paid higher than people that are traveling. They should be paid. They should be paid for it. I pray for all of them that they would get every reward that for the time that they invested in their family and all of that. However, in my own choice, I am investing in my family, in my work, in my marriage, and in my growth. So I think I can have a bit of everything. Thank you so much for inviting me, Buko.